profile a lot of people who have turned a negative life experience into a huge positive.
Often helping others. Catriona Williams and her organisation, the CatWalk Trust, are always coming up with innovative ways to raise money for research.
The goal? To get people who have had a spinal cord injury back on their feet. Up until 2002, Catriona Williams' life was following the path of a fairy tale. Growing up in Heartland, New Zealand, she married into an iconic Kiwi family and she was on the way to the Olympics as an equestrian rider. Then, the fairy tale flipped. She fell from a horse and fractured her neck, leaving her a tetraplegic. Suddenly, this outdoorsy, sporty chick found herself inside a broken body. Since then, Catriona has built a foundation, the CatWalk Trust, to find ways to help people with spinal cord injury walk again.
CatWalk is very much a big part of my life, and all my friends are fully involved. They've been dragged into it in so many ways, but they love it as much as we do. You know, we try to make it fun. I think that's what makes CatWalk so successful, is everything we do. It's not about feel sorry for us, we're in a chair. This is who we are. We're not dying, but you know what? One day we would love to walk again.
Yeah. Catriona and her partner Sam Williams live at the Little Avondale Stud, near Masterton in the Wairarapa. They breed racehorses in partnership with Sam's father.
How would I describe Catriona? She's become very patient with me, but she's had to become obviously a patient person, being in a wheelchair, as you know. And how would I describe Catriona?
I wasn't patient before. I was patient with the horses, but not patient with people.
I mean, you can ask a lot of our friends, what's Catriona like? She's inspiring, she's motivating. Come and see training, especially when you are owned by her. Come over here, you. She owns you. Come here. Say hello. Ooh.
They had been married for just a year when Catriona broke her neck in a riding accident. 8 years later, Catriona is training for the latest fundraising extravaganza organised by her CatWalk Trust, the Wairapathon.
So this is definitely the Mercedes as far as once we get going. If you love speed, you'd rather be on this one. But it takes two people to get us on this one, whereas Wendy and I can get on that one. Hey, Billy. Come here. Ready? 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 Ready?
The Wairapathon is part of Catriona's build-up for the New York Marathon, which she, along with a number of her friends, is competing in, with the hope of raising over 200 grand for the CatWalk Trust. All 20 competitors are travelling to New York at their own cost.
So we've been training for over a year now, and I must admit at the time I was like, am I really, doing something sensible here?
Yeah. But looking back, I mean, you can tell how far you've come.
Yeah, I mean, this driveway, I'd go to the end and back and it would take me an hour and a half. So you can imagine how slow I used to go. It was just quite painful, but it's quite nice now when you look back.
10 years ago, Catriona was one of New Zealand's leading show jumpers, competing at badminton and aiming for the New Zealand Olympic team. After her accident, her focus was on building the CatWalk Trust, which depends on the support of her many friends to help organise its events. Today, they're getting ready for the Wairapathon.
How many bags do we need? Do we know exactly?
Well, it started with a group of friends wanting to raise some money for me. And, Sam and I had only just got married. We were on the bones of our bum, working really hard.
Had great times with Catriona, partying, dancing, as she loved to do. And then watching her career riding, and then bang, the accident, and everything sort of turned round for Sam and Kat, and obviously all the friends around them kicked in to help in any way that they could. Catriona got inundated with requests, people wanting to do something for her. She was quite embarrassed about that. So her thought was to gather a bunch of friends that all had different talents. There were around 9 of us that pulled together and came round here one day and sat and spoke about what we could do.
And, I said to the team, the only thing that's going to change my life is getting these legs working again. So if we put all our energy into research, whether it happens in our lifetime or not, why not concentrate on that and then I can get behind it?
Catriona, sort of after about 8 hours of brainstorming, said, the only thing that people in wheelchairs want is to walk again. So we all decided that's what this is about. We're going to raise money to find a cure for spinal cord injury.
And the interesting thing is, it started off with, I think, just a bunch of girlfriends wanting to throw a bit of a party, raise some money, put it in the right direction. And the whole thing has just blossomed because I think we've enjoyed every step of the way. There's always a bit of stress before every event, but only because we want it to be perfect.
We thought we might have a couple of parties, once every 2 years and raise a little bit of money and give it to some scientists in New Zealand that might be able to do something for the cause. And then it just grew and grew. We started to look into what can actually be done research-wise, realised that there is such a good possibility that this vision of ours can actually happen in our lifetime as well. So we just all went for it, absolutely went for it, and there it is now, raised over $1 million.
It's very much about supporting the scientists and the researchers out there, putting the money in the best possible direction. We use the New Zealand Neurological Foundation to help us guide us on that. We're good at raising the money and they're good at making sure that the right people are getting it.
The goal is a cure for spinal cord injury, but Catriona is realistic about the here and now.
We are working very closely with the Spinal Trust and the Rugby Foundation because their goals are obviously getting people back into the workforce and getting people back into their home life. And that's here and now stuff, and that's really important. For us, we're very much focusing on the research and getting people out of chairs and back on their feet. And as we've seen recently with Rex, the robot, there's other ways to look at it, at solving the problem.
Catriona is doing everything she can to walk again, and it's a big call, putting your hope in a future that just might not happen in our lifetime. Being around Catriona for the last couple of days, I've been thinking about where I'm at as well. And I guess after being in a chair for 11 years, walking is just something I don't really dwell on. But I appreciate what she's doing.
I would give anything to be back on my feet again. And, if somebody said, here's the cure, it's going to take $10 million, I'd raise it just like that. So at the moment, in the meantime, it's raising as much as we can, keeping the awareness really strong, because I believe there will be a variety of ways to find a cure, and it'll be a marriage of a whole bunch of things, and not least will be intensive exercise, I believe, once something comes through. So I think it's important that everyone keeps their bodies really healthy, so when perhaps the right avenue comes around, you're ready and well to take it.
While Catriona focused on CatWalk, husband Sam has made some adjustments of his own.
Oh, look, when she was riding, she would be up at the crack of dawn, and when she's competing, she'd be rocking, coming back home, arriving at, say, midnight, 1 o'clock on Monday morning, and their team, they used to work, and 9 times out of 10, I was cooking dinner. So, yeah, look, all that's happened is the roles have changed. She cooks the meals now.
As a rider, I'd done quite well, but there was always room for more, and we'd been shortlisted for Worlds and Olympics and things, and of course when you ride, the horses are a big part of the equation, probably 80% of the equation, and I just unfortunately had the accident at a time that I was probably peaking. But look, these are the way things go, and I feel very fortunate that it happened to me when I was 31. I'd established a lot of friends. I guess I'd proven myself internationally, and I was married. And I think that's another thing that's often hard for someone in a chair, is socially finding someone that you're compatible with, that doesn't feel sorry because you're in a chair. They love you because of you. So I feel very lucky that I had done a lot of things, and as I said, that it happened to me when I was 31. The horses, yeah, I miss the riding, but I feel I've had a pretty good go at it. There's other things I miss more, and probably the thing I miss the most is dancing.
Everyone vividly recalls the day of their accident. Catriona's was on the 10th of November 2001. What do you remember about that day?
I remember it quite clearly. Yeah, the horse that I was riding for a friend. It was probably the last time I was going to ride it, but I really wanted to give him a good shot for her, because She just wanted him to get out there and go at a higher level. I'd already run the course on one of my other horses and gone clear. And it was 2 fences, supposed to have 1 stride in the middle, and he was a super careful horse, which means they're a little bit more frightened of the jumps, so they don't like to touch them. So he jumped very carefully over the first. So if you think of a parabola, jumped high, lands short, so therefore the distance ended up being a bit long for him. So he ended up putting 2 strides in, chested the second fence with his chest, couldn't get his knees up, cartwheeled, and could have been my collarbone, but it was my neck. And I've seen the footage, we've got it on video. Sam's never seen it, doesn't want to see it. But what I'm pleased about is that I couldn't have stayed on. The horse cartwheeled. I would have been really angry if I could have stayed on, because then it would have been my fault. But I mean, I've been in a lot of pain. Yeah, I don't recommend it. It was just horrible. And the thing that I remember the most that was the worst was I was lying there and one of my girlfriends came up to me and I said to her, please straighten my legs out, please straighten my legs out. And she looked at me and she said, they are. But it's interesting, you talk to a lot of people and they say that your body remembers that last position you were in. So to me, lying on the ground, I still had my knees up as if I was riding, just about to jump the jump. So that was pretty hard to take. I knew something was pretty serious at that point.
Horses are still a huge part of their life together. Catriona wastes little time on might-have-beens.
I think 4 months at Burwood, and it was pretty tough, to be honest. You came home, you couldn't get in and out of the house, there were no ramps. Going to the loo was a rigmarole because of the way the doors were. You couldn't shut the door behind you because they were open like this instead of sliding. Lots of factors that all of a sudden you just realise you're in a chair, you're not walking. And I think emotionally it was pretty tough. I remember I didn't see anybody in hospital for the first month. I had all these people wanting to come and see me and I didn't see anybody. I had a 3-bedroomed room and it was chocker full of presents and cards and things. And I just said to Dad, I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to accept that I'm in the chair. I mean, lying in the bed, you look normal. But I didn't want to see anyone. Whereas now, the door is always open and we have as many visitors as we possibly can. Got a coffee machine that I can just press the buttons, even I can make the coffee. But yeah, coming out of hospital, I think those first couple of years are pretty tough. And I think at about the year end 2 or year end 3, you suddenly realise that you are in a chair for a little bit longer than you planned. So get over it, make the most of it, because I've worked out that I'm nearly 40 and my goodness, if that's 2/3 of the way through, I've got a whole lot to do in the next 22 years.
Yeah, I'll never forget when we were in Burwood, we were told what would happen after year 1. We were told what would happen after year 2 and year 3, and we were going, that'll never happen to us. Give it some time, and like yourself, you're going to think, well, she'll get out of a chair and she'll start walking again, and you always have that belief.